Defense Department's working on a number of important cyber and modernization initiatives at the same time. I asked Matt Robertson, head of Public Sector Channel at Atlassian, what the important pieces of all those initiatives are.
We look at this from the Atlassian viewpoint. We have been supporting the federal workforce for quite some time, and so we've been deep in a lot of these projects. If you look at a lot of the key initiatives that the government has going on, they're very different from one another, but they have a lot of common needs and requirements around them. Project management, enterprise service management, workforce management, even DevSecOps. So it's important to keep in mind all the cross-functional capabilities and needs to manage that as you move forward.
What are the successful organizations doing to tie all those pieces together, to kind of tie those strings together?
Yeah, I think one of the things they're doing is they're keeping in mind the larger ecosystem and the ripple effects of these projects that go through. Cross-functional teams, like I mentioned, it's probably more important than ever. There are a lot of different types of users out there. There are, first of all, there's government personnel, government civilian, you have armed forces personnel, you have contractors. Beyond that, there are technical users, there are non-technical users. Technical users may be involved in software development. They're tracking things like issues and bugs. Non-technical users, not so much. They're not in the technical work stream, but they're working on parallel work streams, and these areas do intersect. So fostering that collaboration, that management, and that visibility around all of it is probably more important than ever.
And I imagine it's also really important to make those things as opaque to the end user, to the non-technology people as possible, so they don't need to know, or probably want to know, what's going on behind the curtain, right?
Well, that's correct, right? You want to keep people in their workflows and focused on their initiatives, what they need to complete.
What are the organizations that are doing that well doing to kind of draw those lines of delineation?
So I think that when you think about how you manage all of these competing efforts, and sometimes they are competing in some ways, a comprehensive management platform and plan around how you manage that collaboration and how you keep people focused on their work streams is really important. Sometimes it may be preventing visibility into certain things. Other times it may take a management approach to say, hey, these two work streams are very important and they can't run solely independently, so we need to bring the teams together and work to achieve those outcomes.
That sounds like it's as much a cultural issue as a technological issue. The technologies probably are pretty much set, and it's the cultural issues that these organizations need to work through.
Oftentimes that's the case in a variety of organizations, not even just government, right? I mean, there's a lot of planning and you can buy a lot of tools, but if you have a cultural problem around collaboration, you're going to have further problems in delivering your outcomes.
You mentioned DevSecOps, and I wonder what your sense is of how integrated that concept has become into, especially the Defense Department, but the government more broadly. There's a period of time where that was kind of a clunky integration process.
Yeah, for sure. I think a good example are the software factories that DoD has stood up. It's no secret, DoD's been in the software business for a long time, and in a big way. They've shown tremendous leadership in standing up those software factories. And so, developing, as they ramp and scale that outward, developing policy for how they're going to manage the collaboration and compliances within those projects becomes more important, for sure.
One of the things that leaders tell me in DoD all the time is, I'm so focused on drinking from the fire hose, it's hard to think over the horizon. What would you tell somebody in the department that they should start to think about along the lines of what we've discussed, so that they're prepared for what's happening a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, Matt?
I think it's easy to get caught up in short-term deliverables and that type of vision, and you always have to keep that longer-term view. And it has to kind of be central for how you're managing things. A dollar today is great, but let's look at the prize 2 years down the road. Also, I think it's easy to make decisions and plan and do planning in a bubble. And sometimes it's good to get a third party. I manage a pretty large partner network, and these partners have been enabling organizations around the globe to do exactly these types of things. So getting some outside thought leaders can also be very important.
Quick final thought before I let you go. What does this look like at some point in the future? DevSecOps, all these modernization pieces and so on. What's your sense of what a mature structure looks like?
I think that there's the base. You have to get started somewhere. You have to build in all of your policies and your processes. And then from there, you just have to get to good. After that, it's that continual service improvement like they talk about with ITIL all the time.
Yeah.
Always trying to make it better. I think that's what mature organizations do. They don't establish something and then just roll with it forever. They're always continually improving that process.
You're optimistic about what you're seeing in the department in that vein right now?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said before, they've shown tremendous leadership in what they're doing, and there's a wealth of talent within the government right now like we've never seen before.
Matt, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for
Thanks for having me on.